Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, and we are looking at the Javelin. So, I think the last time I reviewed this aircraft was when I first got it, and after doing the HG-3 and now the XF-90, I figured I'd take this out for a spin. In fact, I recorded this immediately after that XF-90 video, and we came in cold. Like, we haven't flown this aircraft in arguably a long time, but we did throw on the gas-operated action to see if that would be even more effective on this airframe. I was a little bit hesitant about that move because this aircraft sports its guns in the wings instead of the nose like you would see on any of the other Tier 10 heavies or even this one's predecessor, the P228. So you'd think that you'd be a lot less accurate. But that might be a good thing because now we're getting a little bit more of a spread on it, and even though that seems like it wouldn't be good, it means that you're having an increased chance of getting these guns to hit on target. And maybe it's an illusion, but I feel like these fire slightly faster than even the HG3 fires. So I'd like to think that we're getting more bullets out on the target. So by getting more rounds in the air with a little bit more spacing, you're increasing the chance of getting any shells to hit at range, which means that once you get nice and close, you can kind of finish them off with the overwhelming firepower, but at the same time, you've probably caused critical damage on that target for you to come back and finish it off. Now, in the early stages of this battle, it took me a while to get my feet under me. Again, like I said, I haven't flown this aircraft in a while, so I'm trying to get away from this 1092, and we lose our engine. Luckily, we can get it back up and running, and we hit that cooler. We're in the dive, kind of triggering that boost. Now, this aircraft, if we were to compare it to the last two aircraft we just looked at, it has similar altitude performance and a little bit less on the cruise speed and boost speed than the HG3 has, but not by a ton. Where it is lacking, though, is going to be in its climb rate. This thing's huge. It's a big, heavy airplane, and it feels like it takes a bit to get it to accelerate. It does do pretty good in the dive, and it has the ability to get up to some good speeds there as a result of that, but it's going to rely heavily on the boost. And the good news is this aircraft gets the most boost out of all of those aircraft. It actually has 35 seconds with the current setup, or 36 rather, with the current setup I have now. And on top of that, it has a base hit point pool of 1,200 hit points. Now, comparing that to the other two aircraft that have 700, this thing has a massive hit point pool. And even when we get damaged and we're relying on that natural regen of the health, we actually sit above 350 hit points. Now, compare that to any other aircraft, and that is a lot of hit points available. Ooh, took a big hit here from that HG2. We're going to go ahead and try and get some separation. You can see even in the dive here, we're getting some good acceleration, and now we're hitting that cooler, and we're hammering the boost to get over 700 miles an hour. And just by dipping the nose a little bit with that boost, you can see we're able to get those good speeds we were talking about. Its max dive speed 745 miles an hour, just like the other two aircraft, but you're going to need to burn some of your altitude for that. We're not finding that sweet spot we want with these guns. I was hoping that the fire we started on that aircraft, actually, in hindsight, that wasn't even a fire. That was just the cannon flash from the guns firing. Now, we're going to come in and settle in on this IL-40 at Tier 9. Decent amount of hit points, nearly 1,400, and you can see that these Aidens really are able to pump out the damage, and that gas-operated action was helping us out. I think this is when I start to hit my stride, because you'll see even this 162 up here takes the full brunt of the damage from these guns, and, you know, that spread, I have a feeling that we were probably hitting with half to two-thirds or three-quarters of our rounds hitting the target when we were firing there, so pretty good consistent damage. And there's that Seahawk we came in on earlier and were unable to cause any damage to. We'll just bypass that J7W and move on to another target. I was thinking There's probably going to be somebody inbound on this B-17 group, and sure enough, there is a heavy fighter inbound on this position, and I believe it is the player, so we're going to just kind of fly through the flight here. I see the target coming in. Doesn't look like he's looking at me. We get a little bit of a nick on the aircraft, but just can't outturn him. There's that J7W we were ignoring earlier, and it looks like he just took out one of our buddies. So let's go ahead and take advantage of the situation, kill that opportune target, and we're going to come over here to try and defend this command center, because if we can't defend the bombers, might as well solidify the ability to get another bomber flight to come in by defending this site. I get a little lapse of judgment here, not pulling the proper lead, and the aircraft really doesn't like angling down in the dive. It wants to kind of be doing a pulling up maneuver here, and we missed the opportunity on that kill entirely. I start climbing and looking at taking on one of these bomber aircraft. We get a few rounds out on them. Good hits. Crippling, and you'll see that we get a substantial amount of fire time with these guns. They don't overheat nearly as quickly, I feel, as some of the other heavies do, and that gives us a lot of time to be able to put out a lot of damage. We're looking at nearly 1,400 damage for the cumulative damage off of these cannons, so really good damage output. I believe the HG3 has more damage compared to this airframe, but I just feel like when I get these guns on target, they don't overheat nearly as quickly, and we can get a lot of that damage out at a single time. Really good for countering these ground attack aircraft and those bombers, at least without getting any overheating indicators. I know even with my XF90, I gotta pulsate those cannons quite a bit. I was kind of surprised to take an engine damage here, because this aircraft has a really high damage resistance, which is something I have yet to really take a look at, but I'm wondering if that isn't like a percentage of damage that isn't caused off of the normal damage. So like a 60% damage resistance would mean that you would only be taking 60% of the damage inbound on your aircraft. I'm not sure if that's how that actually works, but it would make sense based on some of the damage numbers I'm seeing coming out of some of these airframes. We also have a really good fire resistance on this airframe as well, leading me to believe that I wouldn't need to have firefighter on this aircraft at all. Getting into a dogfight with a P228, it's like the dance of the elephants here. I want to pick up this kill. It's only a bot, so I don't feel bad about stealing it, and that earned us Hero of the Sky badge, Grade 1 fighter, and Flying Fighter badge. So that's what we were looking for in a good situation for being able to get some of those tokens we desperately need, since I've been burning them up lately trying to get aircraft and stuff for y'all. I think about going after this Kai 162, or sorry, yeah, Kai 162. Instead, we are Key. Sorry, Dimitri. And now we're diving on the Seahawk. Just grabbed the McGuire. I love seeing aircraft that are kind of flying out of their parameters and are in that stall state. They look like they're sitting still. It's like a stationary target. It's such a great situation. This is the player, I believe, in that 262, and we get that good spread to be able to get a few rounds to make contact here, but just not enough. We took out his engine there, so I'm just going to get out of that engagement. There's no reason to get into a turning fight. People get overcommitted sometimes in these type of engagements with heavies. You just got to keep moving. Winged Legend there, Kazuda, and Flying Paladin badge, and Conqueror. So we're really racking them in now. And I'm looking for another target to engage. It looks like that HG2 was taken out by one of our bots in the P228. So the damage we caused earlier took him out. Now the Hunter has the exact same guns we do, just mounted in the nose. So just imagine the power there. I feel like those overheat quicker than the guns that are on this airframe though, so there are some differences. I wanted to get a little bit of vengeance on that 1092 for what he did to us earlier in the game, but unfortunately the timer went off and the game ended. Now let's go back to the hangar and kind of do a little bit of a comparison and see how we did overall. So for an aircraft that on paper doesn't look like it's that decent of an airframe, those Aiden cannons really are a very high rate of fire by comparison to what you get with the HG2, or the HG3 rather, where you're getting a lot more consistent fire out of it. So you're getting kind of an in-between on the rate of fire, you're getting some really good hits out of these cannons, and they are the exact same guns you find on the Hunters. So you're looking at some really good damage potential coming out of this thing. The firepower, cumulative damage of 1401, good distance, good range on them. Again, I have opted for going for Marksman 2. A lot of this stems from my experiences with the XF90, but also from having those guns positioned out on the wings. And then the gas-operated action is a new addition, yet again, taking words of advice from some of my clanmates. They said, you know, using that gas-operated action on heavies is very effective for when you're getting those very momentary passes on targets. The Javelin sports a very high survivability rating with a really big hit point pool of 1,200 hit points. When you compare that to an aircraft like the HG3 with 700 or the XF90, again 700, the Javelin has a massive hit point pool available for taking in some of those hits. Also, its resistance to damage is rated at a 50 compared to the 48 on the HG3 or the 48 on the XF90, while still sporting a very impressive fire resistance of 60. So this aircraft seems not to care. It does very, very well in most situations. And while its maneuverability is going to be on par with the HG3, and obviously better than the XF90, its climb performance is lackluster despite its altitude performance being similar to the HG3. It cruises just a little bit slower, although boosts to the same type of speeds we expect from the HG3 and the same dive speed as the other two aircraft as well. And what really helps this aircraft out is the fact that it has such a high boost duration to allow it to be able to just burn through most of its problems and just hit that throttle and just go. And even better is that when you're not specialized in this airframe, you're still getting 2 slots for your engine consumable. So you can do a manual restart and hit the engine cooling and get yourself out of a tough situation. I have really enjoyed this airframe. It was the second Tier 10 Heavy I got and the first British Tier 10 Heavy that I got, and it's an absolutely amazing piece of machinery and huge airplane. Just look at the size of this beast. Super wide, very big shape to the wings, but you know what, it's all just to add more of those hit points. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and for those of you grinding up the British Heavy line, I liked my P228, but I don't miss the rockets. I do like this airframe. I really feel like it's a good culmination to the line, and it really does bring the pain to the enemy, as you saw in this battle. So as always, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.